Okay, we're live. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be right back in about 30 seconds. I'll be talking with John Murphy today, so this is going to be pretty exciting. Be right back. Hello, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Jamie J. I am the CEO and founder, believe it or not, CEO and founder of Bottleneck Virtual Assistants, where we help stop the bottleneck in your business. And that's our goal here. It's about enough you're going to hear about bottleneck. You may see some things scrolling across and stuff like that. But the reason why I love doing this live stream is because I invite unbelievable people on that can help share tips and strategy to help you stop the bottleneck in your business, help you get out of your own way. And as a matter of fact, today we're going to be talking with the one and only John Murphy. And I was so blessed to have had the chance to meet him just a little while ago and found out we had shared some similar relationships and things like that. And it's just had a great conversation. So what I'm going to do today is go ahead and introduce you to John Murphy, who's going to be coming on. He's going to be talking about what is your legacy. And really quick, John's big, hairy, audacious goal, as Jim Collins called it, for his clients is to help them make a life and not just a living. The goal was prompted by significant personal events in John's life that shifted his life philosophy. And John wants to help his clients create both success and significance in their lives. Before starting his own business, John enjoyed a highly successful career in the corporate world. He began as a door-to-door life assurance salesman and culminated as the CEO of a pan-European life assurance company in Ireland. And without any further ado, please allow me to introduce you to Mr. John Murphy. How are you, sir?
Jamie, it is a great pleasure to be here, and I've been excited and looking forward to this. So this will be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited too. We had such a wonderful conversation, and I feel so honored and blessed that you're here to share some time with me. And if anybody has any comments, I may throw them up on there on the screen and maybe bring them into our conversation a little bit to kind of create some interactivity there. But before I do so, I'm wondering if maybe you can tell us a little bit more about who you are and a little bit of your background.
Okay, yeah. I mean, as you mentioned, I started my corporate career, for want of a better term. Certainly when I started, it didn't feel like much of a corporate career when I was selling insurance door to door. But I actually really enjoyed selling insurance door to door. I did it out of desperation and need. I just needed money. I just got married. But I actually found that I really enjoyed it. But then you kind of get good at it, and then they make the decision they're going to make you a manager, which can sometimes be an awful decision. And in my case, I certainly failed horrifically for the first 6 months because I had no idea. I knew how to be a salesman, but I didn't know how to be a sales manager. But thankfully, I learned, and I got a bit better at that. And then over the course of a number of years, I became a sales director, marketing director, general manager, and ultimately I became the CEO of a pan-European insurance group based in Ireland. And I always think it's interesting looking back on it now, because to a very large extent, Jamie, I kind of, I was very much the corporate animal. I was ambitious. I was hungry. I was, looking for success, and I wanted, all the things that went with it. So I really pushed hard for that. And then, I became CEO. So that was kind of, that there, hey, wow. I've now got the office, I've got the car park space at the front. I've got the title to go with it. And I've got, all of that and earning good money and all of that sort of stuff. And you think, wow, I've now made it. And then, of course, life has a habit of kind of throwing a spanner in the works. And very, very sadly at the time, My wife died very suddenly at the age of 39, and very, very suddenly. And she actually died in the bed beside me, completely out of the blue. And suddenly, and this is the sort of thing that that it can always happen to you, but you don't actually believe it'll happen to you. And I was, I'd left with, I have three daughters at the time. They were 15, 13, and 10. And and that, I mean, obviously it was very sad. It was also very challenging, but it also started me really questioning, what was I doing? Because to a very large extent, I kind of had the story to myself and to other people. I was out building a career for the sake of of my wife and my children, and now suddenly, my wife doesn't exist anymore. My wife is gone all of a sudden, and it's kind of, so what am I really at? And is this what I was driving for? And so that really kind of started the process for me to kind of question what I was doing. And then I mean, not immediately, but over a period of time, I kind of felt, what? Yes, I enjoyed the journey to become a CEO, but you know what? I'm not actually really enjoying being one. And because I found that, you're involved, you're managing shareholders and boards and all of that and the politics that go with it. And I'm not being critical of corporate life, because it was very good to me, and I hope I was good to it. But I just recognized, I can't just keep doing this, because there's got to be something more to life than just doing this. And that was the real, well, I suppose, with your partner dying as suddenly as that, if that doesn't give you a wake-up call, nothing really will in your life. And so that really started to question, say, okay, so what do I actually want to do with my life? And that's where the thing, and you mentioned earlier on about legacy. So I kind of think, so what, if it were to happen to me and I was to, drop dead at that moment in time, what legacy would I leave? I mean, the big office and the big car and all of that. I mean, that's not a legacy. I mean, no one actually cares about that. And so that really started to kind of say, well, okay, what can I do? What have I got? What, skills, gifts do I believe that I can, bring and actually make a difference in people's lives? And that's why I very much went after kind of that, because it was part of the job that I also loved doing. I liked, the process of hiring people, getting people on board, coaching them, developing them, and then building a team. And I really enjoyed doing that. And that's really what I've been doing for the last 16 years. But it's something that I just love doing, because I love that engagement.
I thank you so much for sharing that story. And we did talk with this before, and I'm sorry for your loss. I couldn't, oh man, I couldn't even fathom how challenging that would be for you. Making that transition from the corporate world to now, and by the way, I'm proud to say that I'm unemployable as well. It just took me 12 years to figure that out.
That's what it does do. That's what it does do to you. You are unemployable. You become unemployable. Exactly.
I absolutely love being an entrepreneur. It's a blessing. I just really love it. What do you notice the biggest thing that is different now versus when you were CEO of a big company?
Well, now I actually do really feel, because I mean, I'm blessed to have the opportunity to work closely with a lot of people, in different organizations. I mean, I coach senior executives, I coach business owners, I coach them, in all different parts of the world. And I also coach, the teams. So I'm very blessed to actually get the exposure and the opportunity to engage with people at that level. And one of the things that I would see as being a very big difference, I mean, when I started work, I kind of, I turned up and I did what I was told, basically, right? At least that was the intention, that I should do that. But I did do that or not is probably arguable. But anyway, but that was the intention. But now it's a very different world that people are operating in, thankfully, and that's for the better. And now the challenge that I think that leaders have now is that, people are looking for true leaders. People are looking for value-based leaders, right? Because to a very large extent, when we look across society, and this is not, I mean, this is a bit of a broad blanket statement, I accept it. But generally speaking, if we look across the political world, if we look across the business world, if we look across even the kind of the religious worlds, the leadership that we thought, the pillars of society and leadership that we thought were there, has somewhat evaporated. And people are seeing that it's very self-serving. And now people are looking to really okay, so if I'm joining this organization, I'm not joining just because there's a transaction that, I turn up and I get paid, but I'm going to be part of something that actually has a mission. I'm going to be part of something that has a real purpose. And I'm going to be part of something that is actually going to make a contribution. And I think that's what, people joining organizations and in organizations are looking for value-based leaders more and more. And I think, what leaders have got to remember is that since that is true, and it is generally true, then, leader doesn't come with your title. I can be the CEO, I can be the vice president, I can be the president. It doesn't matter what the hell title you give me. But that doesn't make me a leader. I'm only a leader if I've got followers, and staff are not followers. They're staff who you want them to become followers. So it is incumbent upon you to demonstrate value-based leadership so that you actually have followers and that you make an impact in their life.
I absolutely love where you went right here. This is huge. I think I'm a huge fan of culture. I'm a huge fan of leading with kindness, and I'm a huge fan of one of those terms, how everybody comes up with their little terms or, the sayings and all that stuff. And one of them is don't work in your business, work on it. And I disagree with that saying wholeheartedly, at least in the first 3 to 7 years, maybe sometimes sooner. But my problem there is if you're working on your business and not working in your business, you're not working with your team. And a lot of people need to get out of the rat race or get out of their own way. I get that. I understand that. But you also need to be in the trenches with everybody else.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I mean, one of the things that if I'm, when I'm coaching somebody and they've got a team and say, Jamie, you're in their team. And I would ask, okay, well, tell me something about Jamie. And I remember a number of years ago, and somebody that I asked that question on and said, well, Jamie works in this region, works in this department, and he's produced X% of his target over the last number of years. And he went on for a little bit, and I waited until they'd actually finished, and I said, okay, so now can you answer the question? I said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, tell me something about Jamie. What does Jamie like to do outside of work? What's he stand for? What's his goals? What's he striving for? What's important to him? I have no idea. And I said, well, now you know why you've got high turnover. Because very, very, very skillful guy, very talented guy. But the issue was that he had very high turnover his team. I said, now you know, you have a transactional relationship with them. They turn up and you pay them for as long as they're delivering. But the minute that they stop delivering, and you don't know why they're not delivering, because you don't no idea what's going on in their lives. So you don't have any engagement with those. And leaders have got to understand that that's the sort of relationship that you need to have. So I agree with you. You can't just be kind of, managing from afar or managing just because here's the Excel spreadsheet that tells me all the data and ergo I know everything that's going on. Leaders have got to really engage with their people. They've got to understand what success looks like for those people. And they've got to also understand that, it's not just one style of leading and managing. They've got to adopt to the person's style. They've got to adopt to that because they've got to be chameleon-like. And there's that ability to that, because at the end of the day, what you're trying to do, Jamie, you're trying, and it's your job actually to do it, is to optimize the potential of the people that are, in your charge. And you've got to really value that. And you've got to respect that, and you've got to honor that is your job and that is your role, to grow the potential of the people, and not just in their role. Because I would always argue that, it's not my fault that all of you turns up for work, right? Because it is all of you that turns up for work. And if there's something going on in your private life, then I can help and I can do that. I'm not going to solve it, but I can help. But I also can understand what's going on. And I can put kind of framework or support around to actually help you through that journey. I probably am not in a position to solve many of the issues. I'm the manager, but I can actually understand it, and I can put the process and support around you to help you. And that's what true leaders do.
Yep. And I think understanding roles and responsibilities based on personalities and profiles is a tremendous help. And you get to that level by learning about individuals, what they like, what they want to do, what makes them tick, and you also, I think, along with that, provide, I'm going to say culture again, to where people feel good by knowing they have a voice, that what they say matters. And a lot of times that gets shut down. It did for me in corporate America. And again, I agree with you. Corporate America is great if that's where you want to be. It just wasn't for me particularly, because I didn't feel I had a voice. I remember I was working at a radio station, and the big wigs, the big brass were coming in from San Francisco. And we all got this piece of paper that had the company vision on. They said, okay, guys, memorize this in case they ask you. And we were like, wait, what? Like, I was like, what? I don't get, I've never heard that before. I never knew what the mission was. I had no idea that they actually had something written down. And so that's why I think culture is more than a vision, what you aspire to do, and more than a mission, what you do on a daily basis. What are those daily objectives? You have to actually do it and embrace that and believe in it. And so that way, when people come on board, your staff comes on board, they feel that they share a similar belief system. And this is how you build a family within a company, in my opinion.
And also, I mean, because the reality is, Jamie, you are going to get a culture one way or the other, because a culture will evolve, whether you like it or whether you dislike it. If you do nothing about it, there's going to be a culture. But I can tell you one thing: if you're doing nothing about it, you are likely to end up with a culture that you don't like. So you've got to be very, very clear, and you've got to be very, very intentional about the culture that you want in your organization. And I think it was the great Peter Drucker that said, that culture eats strategy every day of the week. And I think that's very, very true, because I think if you get the culture right, that actually is I sometimes kind of get concerned. Somebody like me goes into an organization and say, we've got to talk about vision, mission, and values. And you can sometimes see people think, oh God, here's another bloody consultant coming in talking about this stuff, but the fact of the matter is, it's really important to have it. And it's easier now to have that conversation than it was a number of years ago, but because that's the context for how you do things. And the culture dictates how you actually do things, how you interact with your staff, how you interact with your customers, how you interact with your suppliers, the behavior that's taking place within the organization. So that culture is just massively important. And I find it interesting right now in the midst of everything that is going on in the world with this pandemic that is disrupting everybody. I'm finding that, the conversations that I'm having with people are becoming quite reflective about, what's happening. People are getting quite reflective about the fact that some of the things that maybe they didn't think, were all that terribly important, or they disregard them. Now suddenly they realize, what, that's actually really important. And the things that they thought were important, they're now beginning to think, well, what, maybe that's not so important. And people are beginning to reflect on, is what I'm doing, my career or with my business, is that really what I want to be doing? Am I doing the right things? If it's the right thing that I'm doing in the first place, and am I doing the right things in the business? And what impact is this going to have in the world? And that's why, I'm a great believer in working with my clients to try and really help them, because I can't do it for them. I can only kind of ask the questions and prompt and cajole and badger, or whatever you want to put it, about, what actually would be a life of significance for you? What legacy do you want to leave behind? And I'm not talking about the money in your will. I'm talking, what do you want, the impact that you have on people? And I just think that conversation, I just find it interesting that, times like this, with this kind of something that completely disrupts, throws everything up in the air. Nobody was prepared. Nobody was ready. Nobody actually knows, what to do. Nobody knows what the consequence of this. Only we know that it's going to be, serious. But we also do know, Jamie, that out of the ashes of this massive issue and problem that pervades everywhere and all elements of society in all countries, eagles will soar out of this, because they will. It happens every time where there's a massive correction in the market. And I'm not just talking about the stock market. I'm talking about everything that is in our world. There will be eagles who soar out of this. And I think it's the people that are really reflecting and are not just kind of waiting to try and go back to what I normally did, whatever normally did looks like, but it won't be the same. But I
No.
think it's those that are really reflecting on what are they doing, how are they going to create a life of significance, what legacy are they going to leave, what impact are they going to have in this world. And I think that's really healthy, and I really embrace it, and I love having these conversations at the moment, because it's just taking conversations to a very different level. And I think for all of us, that we actually, we need to have done something with our lives that has made a difference in the world. It doesn't matter how small or how big. It's not about the headline. It's not about the publicity. It's not about, your name and it's nothing to do with that. But that for the people that you love, the people that you care for, the people that you've been entrusted with in your work and your career, what difference have you made to their lives? And I think that's the question that we've got to be asking ourselves. And that's what we've got to find as a kind of the pathway and the journey that we all embrace.
I couldn't agree with you more. There's that country song. It goes something like, "It's not what you do while you're here, it's what you leave behind when you go."
Yeah.
It's so powerful. It's a great song, by the way. I just can't remember the singer. It has a nice little tune to it, but it's so true. Legacy is so important, and that's why I believe it is so important to make an impact on each and every person that you come in contact with by being present, being intentional, being there in the moment. Just like I'm right now with you, John. Like, this is it. I've got every device is off. All I'm doing is listening to you and focusing on this conversation, and it just, I mean, I feel so dang blessed listening to you talk about this stuff, because I wish I could just put this on replay and replay and replay. It's so important. And while people may consume this live stream, either now or sometime evergreen in the future, they get to participate in this. And my hope for them is that they continue to participate by changing their mindset. And you know what? Thank the Lord for this virus, for this pandemic, because it, even in my life, yes, has it disrupted it? Yes. Has our business felt the impact? Definitely. But you know what? We've been able to kind of refocus, and we want to be one of those soaring eagles, one of those top 10% that come out on the other side of this, because we've taken the time now to reflect. We've taken the time to look at our processes and our systems. We've taken the time to come up with new marketing ideas and concepts, because the business is down a little. Are we scared? I might say, yeah, a little bit. It was a little bit of a freak out on my part, but I know it's going to come back.
Yeah, and I think the other thing I think, and this is true of every business, yours, mine, everybody, right? When the business is flying, right, and I mean, and everything, the markets were great, and everything was great, and the business was flying, then you know that there are some cracks in your business, because you know your own business model. You know there are some cracks that exist there, but you're kind of, things are going really well, and I'm kind of far too busy to actually do something about it. But suddenly, the world kind of stops spinning on its axis, and now the light is shining through those cracks an awful lot brighter than they were before. And now is the time for organizations, and I'm really working with my clients, and I say, okay, what are the cracks? What are the real cracks when you look at it? So what are you actually going to do about those now to make sure that, when we actually get, business kind of opens up and we're actually getting back to some sense of kind of, where there's freedom of movement and people can go and transact and engage commercially. What changes will you have made to your business during this time? And, one or two conversations I've had, they say, oh, well, we don't have all our people kind of back in. I said, no, hold on a sec. You can't use that as an excuse. You know what they are. You know exactly what they are. You know probably at least 70%, 75% of the solutions. So get cracking at doing it, so that, when the market does reopen, when we're able to get back to transacting, that you're match fit at that time. But because waiting, as sure as night follows day, if you don't do it at this time, when stuff gets back, you're going to get busy doing other stuff, and you will still want to fix the cracks, and you still want to plug the leaks. And I think for all of us, it's looking at it, because so much we take for granted. In my own business, right? I fly all over the world, and because I do business, right? It never ever occurred to me that one of the things that I wouldn't be able to do is to go to the airport and hop on a plane. I thought I may not be able to get to that city, but I can fly there and then I get another flight to get there, but I'll get there, right? But, I'm here in France, right? I can't get a flight to the United States, right? So did I ever think that was actually going to be an issue in my business? Never, Jamie, it never crossed my mind. And that's one of the things that for all of us have got those equivalents of that. So what are the things that we're not in control of that can actually put a dent in your business model? Look at those. Now, maybe you can't do anything about it, but make some decisions about them and don't just kind of say, well, that's over and we'll move on.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important, this is probably a lot of people that may not have had any contingency plans in place. This is a good time to do it. I'm actually writing an article on that right now. Taking into consideration potential threats, potential disasters, and then prioritizing them and how much are these going to impact, right? So you can do a graph of some kind or whatever, but just start getting this stuff down, because what happens if? What happens if there's a disaster?
It's funny. I was talking to a client there last week, and a very good business, really solid business, and he's got a big corporate finance background, so he's organized, he's structured, he's does all the right things, and he's got a super business model. But he said to me, he said, me, Murph, I would have a risk management plan in place. And he said, you know what? He said, was there a mention of pandemic? Not a bit of it. So he said the one thing I didn't have on the list is the damn thing that happened. And he said, my risk management was completely out the window, but he said, it does have it now.
Yeah, it does. Well, and you have to think about it too, if to avoid something like that, because we're getting close to time here. So I appreciate your time, but some of the things that you can do along these lines of creating contingency plans are small things that could a pandemic effect, where something like your best employee leaves. What happens?
Yeah.
There's a breach, a security breach. What happens? You have to move from one location to another. What happens? So there's a lot of things that you can do in those situations where you can plan for things. What if the office floods? What if your home floods? What if what if there's a fire? Like what happens if? And by creating these contingency plans, I think is going to do wonders. And I feel for your client there who out of all the things they probably had down there,
prided himself on his risk management plan. Absolutely.
Well, we're getting close to wrapping up, coming to the end of the half hour here, and I wonder if there's anything that you would like to say before we wrap.
Well, I just encourage people to take advantage of this time. These are times that we'll never get back again. A part of it, we don't ever want to get them back again because we don't want the pandemic. But nevertheless, it is giving all of us the opportunity to really reflect on the business model we have, the cracks in those business models, because every business model has them. Really, really reflect on that, and also to stand back on a personal level and to kind of challenge yourself and saying, what am I actually doing with my life, not just my business, right? What am I doing, that I'm getting success, not just on the kind of the career or the business side, but what am I actually doing to make sure that I'm getting success right across all the areas of my life? And so many times, and I see it, and I've been guilty of it too, where I have, put so much focus on the business and the career, and the family kind of loses out, or other aspects of my life lose out. And for us to have really full lives, we really need to pay attention to all the aspects of our life, and not just our work, our business, and our career, is making sure that we actually get that. And that's actually, really, if you do that, then you've got a very good chance of leaving a legacy that people will value and will remember. And, as the old saying is, nobody on their deathbed says, I wish I spent more time in the office, right? It's the time you spend with your loved ones. It's the impact you've had on them, and the impact that you have had on their lives.
Or what they may have regretted not doing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you again, John. I really appreciate it. How do people reach out and get in touch with you if they want to learn more?
The easy way to get in touch with me is to go to the website, www.johnmurphyinternational.com. My email address is john@johnmurphyinternational.com. I'd be delighted to have a conversation with any of your listeners. If anybody wants to chat to me about anything, discuss what we talked about here, anything else, please reach out. I'd love to have a chat with you.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, John. Thank you so much.
It's been a real pleasure, Jamie. It's been a joy.
It definitely has. So hold on one quick second. I'll go ahead and wrap up. But hold on, don't go anywhere. And we'll go ahead and bring this home. So bear with me 1 second. And thank you again, John.
Pleasure.
All right. I've been talking with John Murphy of John Murphy International. You can go learn more about John at johnmurphyinternational.com. And I'll go ahead and post his website here. There's the link. You can also visit him. He's got an account at LinkedIn at /John Murphy International. You can also find him on Twitter for those of you that are watching us live on Twitter right now at JMI Coaching. And if you're seeing us on Facebook right now, you can follow him at John Murphy International or like his page there as well. So we've been talking about legacy with John Murphy and having a great conversation just in business, general business, and some of the things that you can do in preventing or overcoming different crises that happen in your lives, in your business. So it's not what you do while you're here. It's what happens when you leave. What is that legacy? And my advice, and I echo everything John Murphy said. My advice is to do all the best that you can do. Lead with kindness. Have a heart. Treat your staff as friends and be there for them. Learn about them individually, and you'll be amazed at what kind of culture you're able to build there. So once again, we were talking with John Murphy today. You can learn more about him by visiting johnmurphyinternational.com. My name is Jamie J. I am the founder and CEO of Bottleneck Virtual Assistants. Thank you so much for tuning in with John Murphy and me here on Live with Bottleneck. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and we will talk to you soon.